Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the Earth below. The blue planet looked peaceful from space, but he knew better. Smoke rose from burning cities where alien bombs had fallen. The year was 2387, and humanity was dying. Jake turned to his communications officer. Lieutenant Amy Brooks sat at her station with worry lines across her young face. She had been trying to contact other human ships for hours, but only received silence. The Zephyrian aliens had destroyed most of Earth's fleet in the first attack 3 days ago. "Any word from the other ships, Amy?" Jake asked. His voice was tired. He had not slept since the attacks began. Amy shook her head. "Nothing, sir. We have 12 ships left in our defense group. That might be all that remains of humanity's space force." Jake felt the weight of those words. 12 ships against an alien fleet of thousands. The Zephyrians had technology that made human weapons look like toys. Their energy shields could stop any missile or laser beam humanity could fire at them. Their ships moved faster than anything humans had ever built. On the main screen, a message appeared. The alien symbols slowly changed into English words. Jake read the message with growing anger. The Zephyrian High Commander Veltar was offering humanity 2 choices: become slaves to the alien empire or face complete destruction. There was no third option. "Sir, we are receiving a direct communication from Admiral Lisa Carter on Earth," Amy said. The screen changed to show a woman in her 50s wearing a military uniform. Admiral Carter looked as tired as Jake felt, but her eyes still held determination. Behind her, Jake could see the underground command center where Earth's leaders had been hiding since the attacks began. "Captain Morrison, I know you received the alien message. I want you to know that Earth's government has already given our answer. We will not surrender and we will not become slaves. We are implementing Operation Last Hope." Jake knew about Operation Last Hope. It was humanity's most desperate plan. Dr. Nathan Cross had been working on something in the underground labs. Jake did not understand the science, but it had to do with human brain patterns and how they were different from alien minds. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Jake asked. "Hold your position and protect Earth as long as possible. Dr. Cross believes he has found something that might help us. We need time to test his theories." The communication ended just as new alarms sounded. On Jake's bridge, his weapons officer Danny Reed looked up from his controls with fear in his eyes. "Captain, the alien fleet is moving toward Earth. I count over 2,000 ships." Jake watched the enemy ships approach on his screen. Each alien vessel was 3 times larger than his own ship. Their hulls were black and seemed to absorb light. No human weapon had ever damaged one of them. "All ships prepare for battle," Jake ordered into his communication system. "This is Captain Morrison. We knew this day would come. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the right of humanity to exist. Make every shot count." Far below on Earth's surface, Sam Davis worked in his garage, trying to fix broken equipment for the resistance fighters. Sam was just a mechanic, but he refused to give up hope. He had seen what humans could do when they worked together. In the cities around the world, people like teacher Kelly White were organizing groups to help each other survive. In the underground laboratory, Dr. Nathan Cross stared at his computer screens. He had discovered something amazing about human brains. When humans were under extreme stress, their minds produced patterns that no other known species could create. These patterns seemed to affect alien technology in ways he was just beginning to understand. Dr. Helen Parker worked beside him. She was a scientist who studied alien life forms. 3 years ago, she had warned the government that the Zephyrians might see humans as a threat. No one had listened to her then, but now her knowledge might save humanity. "Nathan, are you certain about this?" Helen asked. "The readings seem impossible." "I have checked the data 50 times, Helen. Human minds under stress produce quantum signatures that can interfere with Zephyrian systems. The problem is, we need to find a way to use this discovery as a weapon." Above them, the battle for Earth was about to begin. Captain Jake Morrison ordered his ships to attack, even though he knew their weapons would be useless against alien shields. But something strange happened. When the human missiles hit the alien ships, they caused small disruptions in the enemy shields. The damage was tiny, but it was damage. Amy Brooks noticed it first. "Captain, look at screen 7. The alien ship we just hit is showing power fluctuations." Jake stared at the readings. For the first time since the war began, an alien ship had taken damage from human weapons. It was not much, but it was something. Maybe Dr. Cross was right. Maybe humans had something the aliens did not expect. The real battle was just beginning. 3 years earlier, the first alien ship had appeared near Jupiter. Commander Rick Stone was part of the diplomatic team sent to make contact. He remembered that day clearly as he now ran through the burning streets of New York City. Back then, humanity had been excited about meeting their first alien neighbors. How wrong they had been. The Zephyrian ship had been beautiful. It was shaped like a crystal and reflected light in colors humans had never seen before. When the aliens agreed to meet on a space station between Earth and Mars, everyone thought it was the beginning of a new age for humanity. Rick had been in the meeting room when everything went wrong. The Zephyrian representatives looked like tall, thin humans, but their skin was pale blue and their eyes were completely black. They spoke perfect English, which had impressed the human diplomats. At first, the talks went well. The aliens shared information about their galaxy-spanning empire. They told humans about hundreds of different species that lived in peace under Zephyrian rule. Each species had found its place in the great order that the aliens had created. Then Dr. Helen Parker had asked a simple question. She wanted to know how the Zephyrians decided where each species belonged in their empire. The alien leader had explained that they studied each species carefully. They looked at how each race thought and acted. Most species followed logical patterns that were easy to understand and control. Rick remembered the exact moment when everything changed. One of the human diplomats had started laughing at a joke another human had made. The sound seemed to freeze the aliens. Their black eyes had grown wide with what looked like fear. The Zephyrian leader had asked why the human had made that sound. When the diplomats explained about laughter and humor, the aliens had become very quiet. They asked more questions about human emotions and creativity. Each answer seemed to disturb them more. Dr. Helen Parker had noticed their reaction first. She was a scientist who studied how different life forms behaved. She saw that the aliens were not just curious about human emotions. They were afraid of them. The meeting had ended quickly after that. The aliens said they needed time to study humanity before they could continue talks. Rick had felt proud that humans were so unique and interesting. He did not know that the aliens saw them as a dangerous threat. Now, as Rick helped evacuate civilians from the bombed city, he thought about Dr. Parker's warnings. She had tried to tell the government that the aliens might attack. She had written reports about how human unpredictability could be seen as threatening to a species that valued order above everything else. Her warnings had been ignored. Politicians and military leaders thought the aliens would appreciate human creativity. They believed that advanced aliens would be wise and peaceful. They were wrong about everything. Dr. Helen Parker worked in the underground laboratory with Dr. Nathan Cross. She watched him study brain scans of humans under stress. The patterns were unlike anything she had seen in her years of studying alien biology. "Nathan, look at these readings from the space battle," Helen said. "Every time our pilots made an unexpected move, the alien ships showed system fluctuations." Nathan studied the data on his computer screens. "It fits with my theory, Helen. Human brains work differently from any other known species. When we are under pressure, we become more unpredictable, not less. Most species become more logical when threatened. We become more creative." Helen remembered her first studies of alien biology. Every species the Zephyrians had encountered followed clear patterns. When threatened, they either fought in organized ways or fled according to survival instincts. Humans did neither. They adapted and changed their tactics in ways that made no sense to logical minds. The Zephyrians have conquered hundreds of species, Helen said. Each one was either completely logical or too primitive to be a real threat. We are the first species they have met that can be both highly advanced and completely unpredictable at the same time. Above ground, Sam Davis led a group of mechanics and engineers in building strange devices. They were not following any official plans. Instead, they were combining human technology in ways that seemed random, but somehow worked. Sam did not understand the science, but he knew that normal thinking had failed humanity. Maybe it was time to try impossible thinking. Kelly White organized groups of civilians to create art and music in the bombed cities. It seemed pointless when alien ships flew overhead, but she believed that human creativity was important. She had read Dr. Parker's reports about how human culture confused the aliens. Maybe confusion could be a weapon. In the Zephyrian command ship, High Commander Veltar studied reports from the battle. His species had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years by understanding and controlling the behavior of other races. Every species followed patterns that could be predicted and managed. Humans were different. The human pilots changed their attack patterns for no logical reason. They made decisions that their own tactical computers said were wrong, but somehow these wrong decisions worked. Veltar's advanced battle computers could not predict what humans would do next, because humans did not follow any rules. Worse still, the humans seemed to become more unpredictable when they were losing. Other species became desperate and made obvious mistakes when facing defeat. Humans became more creative and dangerous. This was not how wars were supposed to work. Veltar had ordered the attacks on Earth, hoping to force quick surrender. Logical species gave up when they realized they could not win. Humans kept fighting even when victory was impossible. They seemed to enjoy the challenge of finding new ways to cause problems for his fleet. For the first time in his long life, Veltar felt something his species rarely experienced. He felt uncertain about the outcome of a battle. His perfect order was being challenged by a species that refused to follow any order at all. The war was just beginning and already nothing was going according to plan. Captain Jake Morrison threw away the tactical manual and decided to trust his gut instead. For 2 days, his fleet had tried to fight the aliens using proper military strategy. Every logical attack had failed completely. The alien computers predicted human moves before they happened and countered them perfectly. "Danny, I want you to forget everything you learned in pilot school," Jake told his wingman over the communication system. Danny Reed was one of the best pilots in the human fleet, but his skills meant nothing against alien technology that could predict his every move. "What do you mean, sir?" Danny asked from his fighter ship. "Stop thinking and start feeling. Make moves that make no sense. Be random. Be crazy. Confuse them." Danny understood immediately. He had been frustrated by how easily the aliens countered his best tactics. Maybe bad tactics would work better. He rolled his ship in a pattern that served no purpose and fired, his weapons at empty space. The alien ships near him suddenly slowed down as their computers tried to understand what he was doing. Jake watched his sensors and saw something amazing. The alien ships were hesitating. Their perfect formation was breaking apart as they tried to respond to Danny's nonsensical flying. For the first time since the war began, the aliens looked confused. "All pilots listen to me," Jake broadcast to his remaining ships. "Stop fighting like soldiers and start fighting like humans. Be unpredictable. Do things that make no sense. Keep them guessing." The change in the battle was immediate. Human pilots began flying in ways that violated every rule of space combat. They spun their ships for no reason and fired at targets they could not possibly hit. The alien fleet formation collapsed as their computers failed to find patterns in the chaos. On Earth, engineer Carol Stevens worked with her team to rebuild human weapons. But instead of making them better, she was making them stranger. Her new designs violated the basic laws of physics, but somehow they worked when humans operated them. "Carol, this design makes no sense," her assistant said. "The power flow should cause the weapon to explode." "It should, but it does not," Carol replied. "I tested it 12 times. When a human pulls the trigger, the weapon works perfectly. When we let a computer fire it, the weapon fails. There is something about human touch that makes impossible things possible." Carol did not understand the science behind her discoveries, but she knew they worked. Human intuition seemed to guide technology in ways that pure logic could not. Her weapons required split-second decisions that only human minds could make. Meanwhile, Sam Davis and his team of mechanics had taken over an abandoned factory. They were building devices that combined alien technology with human creativity. The fall results looked like art projects more than weapons, but they were surprisingly effective. "Sam, this thing looks like a sculpture," said one of his workers as they assembled a new device. "Good," Sam replied. "If we cannot understand how it works, maybe the aliens cannot either. Sometimes the best weapon is one that makes no sense to anyone." The device was designed to broadcast human emotions directly into alien communication systems. Sam had no idea if it would work, but he knew that human feelings seemed to disturb the aliens. Maybe fear and anger and hope could be used as weapons. Kelly White had gathered hundreds of civilians in the ruins of the city museum. They were creating a massive art installation that combined music and sculpture and poetry. The work had no practical purpose except to express human creativity in its purest form. "Why are we doing this when the world is ending?" asked one of the volunteers. "Because we are human," Kelly answered. "Creating beauty is what we do. If we stop being creative, we stop being human. Maybe our humanity is our greatest weapon." Unknown. To Kelly, her art project was broadcasting the same quantum signatures that Dr. Nathan Cross had discovered. The patterns of human creativity were interfering with alien systems across the entire continent. Alien ships were experiencing random failures as their logical circuits tried to process the chaos of human imagination. In his laboratory, Dr. Cross made a breakthrough discovery. He found that human consciousness could be weaponized directly. When humans concentrated on chaotic thoughts while touching alien technology, the devices malfunctioned in predictable ways. "Helen, we can use human minds as computer viruses," he told Dr. Parker. "Human thought patterns are so different from alien logic that direct contact crashes their systems." Dr. Parker studied his data with growing excitement. "This explains why our weapons started working better when humans operated them manually. Our touch is literally poisonous to their technology." The discovery opened new possibilities for fighting back. If human consciousness could disable alien systems, then humans could board enemy ships and cause havoc from within. It was dangerous, but it might be humanity's only chance. Lieutenant Amy Brooks volunteered for the first test. She placed her hands on a captured alien control panel and focused on the most random thoughts she could imagine. She thought about childhood memories and strange dreams and silly jokes. The alien device sparked and went completely dead. "It worked," she said with amazement. "I killed it just by thinking at it." Captain Jake Morrison realized they had found humanity's secret weapon. Not superior technology or better tactics, but pure human chaos. The aliens had spent thousands of years perfecting order and logic. They had no defense against creativity and randomness and the beautiful madness of human imagination. High Commander. Veltar received reports of system failures across his fleet. His engineers could find no logical cause for the malfunctions. Equipment that had worked perfectly for centuries was suddenly breaking down. The failures seemed to happen whenever humans were nearby. Veltar began to understand that he was not fighting a normal war. The humans were using their very existence as a weapon. Their chaotic nature was like a disease that infected everything it touched. For the first time in his life, Veltar wondered if his perfect empire might lose a war. Tide was beginning to turn. Lieutenant Amy Brooks lay on the medical table as Dr. Helen Parker prepared the experimental procedure. They were going to connect Amy's brain directly to an alien computer system. No human had ever tried such a thing before. The risks were unknown, but the potential rewards could save humanity. "Are you sure about this, Amy?" Dr. Parker asked. "We do not know what will happen when your mind touches their technology." Amy nodded firmly. "I have to try, Doctor. Our weapons are starting to work better, but we need something bigger. If I can get inside their computer systems, maybe I can cause real damage." Dr. Nathan Cross monitored the alien device they had captured. It was a small control unit from a Zephyrian fighter ship. Even this tiny piece of technology was more advanced than anything humans had built, but it had one weakness. It could not handle the chaos of human thought. "Remember, Amy, just think about anything random," Dr. Cross said. "Do not try to be logical. Let your mind wander wherever it wants to go." Amy closed her eyes as the connection was made. Suddenly, she could feel the alien computer in her mind. It was cold and perfectly organized. Every thought followed precise patterns. There was no room for emotion or creativity or wonder. It was like touching a machine made of ice. Then Amy began to think about her childhood. She remembered playing in summer rain and laughing with her friends. She thought about her first kiss and her favorite songs and the way flowers smelled in spring. The alien computer reacted like it had been struck by lightning. The device sparked and smoke poured from its circuits. But something else happened too. Amy could feel the alien network connected to the device. She could sense other computers linked together across space. Her human thoughts were spreading through their system like wildfire. "It is working," she gasped. "I can feel their whole network. My thoughts are burning through their computers like acid." Dr. Parker watched the readings with amazement. Amy's brain patterns were creating cascading failures throughout the connected alien systems. Ships thousands of miles away were reporting computer malfunctions. Human consciousness was proving to be a devastating weapon. Captain Jake Morrison received reports that alien ships across the solar system were experiencing problems. Their perfect formations were breaking apart as computer failures spread from ship to ship. For the first time since the war began, humanity had damaged the enemy's ability to coordinate attacks. "Prepare the volunteer squadron," Jake ordered. "We are going to try something that has never been done before." Jake had asked for pilots willing to fly ships equipped with the new human-alien hybrid interfaces. These ships would respond to human intuition instead of computer logic. The pilots would have to trust their feelings completely and ignore everything their instruments told them. Danny Reed was the first to volunteer. He had already learned to fight by abandoning logic and embracing chaos. Flying a ship designed around human intuition felt natural to him. When he climbed into the cockpit, the controls felt alive under his hands. "This is incredible," Danny reported over the communication system. "The ship responds to what I want before I even think about it. It is like flying with my emotions instead of my brain." The new ships moved through space in ways that seemed impossible. They curved and spun and changed direction without following any physics that the aliens understood. The Zephyrian targeting computers could not track them because they moved according to human feelings rather than mathematical formulas. On Earth, Sam Davis and Kelly White worked together to create something unprecedented. They organized thousands of civilians to participate in massive displays of human creativity. Art and music and poetry spread across the planet as people expressed their humanity in the face of extinction. The quantum signatures generated by these creativity storms were detected by alien ships throughout the solar system. Every time humans came together to create something beautiful, their combined consciousness sent ripples through space that disrupted alien technology. "We are fighting them with our souls," Kelly said, as she watched children draw pictures on the walls of ruined buildings. "Every song and every painting and every story is a weapon they cannot understand." Sam nodded as he helped organize a concert in the middle of a bomb crater. They came here expecting to find another logical species they could control. Instead, they found humans. We are fighting back with the one thing they fear most, our humanity. High Commander Veltar studied reports from across his fleet. The humans were doing something that made no sense. Instead of hiding underground during the bombing, they were gathering in large groups to create art. These gatherings seemed to generate some kind of energy that was hostile to Zephyrian technology. How can music be a weapon? Veltar asked his science officer. How can paintings cause our computers to malfunction? The science officer had no answer. In all their thousands of years of conquest, the Zephyrians had never encountered anything like human creativity. They had weapons that could destroy stars, but they had no defense against a child singing a lullaby. Dr. Cross made another breakthrough when he realized that human consciousness could be amplified by working together. Teams of humans focusing their chaotic thoughts could cause damage far beyond what one person could achieve alone. He began training volunteers to coordinate their mental attacks on alien systems. Amy Brooks led the first consciousness interface team. 5 humans working together could penetrate deep into alien networks and cause widespread failures. They learned to think as a group while maintaining their individual creativity. It was something the logical alien minds could never duplicate. The team's first mission was to infiltrate an alien command ship. Using their combined mental power, they reached through space to touch the ship's central computer. The results exceeded all expectations. The entire command ship went dark as its systems crashed one by one. Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien command ship drift helplessly through space. For the first time since the war began, a major enemy vessel was completely disabled. Human consciousness had proven more powerful than any conventional weapon. All ships move in for the attack, Jake ordered. Let's show them what humans can do when we fight together. The volunteer squadron of intuition-guided ships swept toward the disabled command vessel. Their erratic flight patterns confused the remaining alien ships. Danny Reed led the attack with moves that defied all logic but worked perfectly. As the human ships closed in on their target, the aliens began to understand what they were truly fighting. This was not just another species seeking survival. This was humanity refusing to surrender the very qualities that made them human. They would rather die as humans than live as slaves. The real war was just beginning. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the underground command center and gave the order that would change everything. Operation Last Hope was no longer a desperate gamble. It had become humanity's path to victory. Human ships equipped with consciousness. Interfaces were launching from secret bases around the solar system. Captain Jake Morrison led the largest group of volunteer pilots ever assembled. His fleet of 30 ships moved through space in patterns that seemed random but were actually guided by pure human intuition. Each pilot trusted their feelings completely and ignored their instruments when emotions told them to do something different. Remember, everyone, Jake broadcast to his pilots. We are not fighting their technology. We are fighting their entire way of thinking. Show them what it means to be human. Danny Reed flew his ship in spirals that made no mathematical sense, but felt perfectly right to his human soul. His targeting system told him he was aiming at empty space, but his heart said to fire anyway. When his weapons discharged, they hit an alien ship that his computers had not even detected. The aliens had no defense against weapons guided by human emotion. Their shields were designed to stop logical attacks following predictable patterns. They could not stop missiles that curved through space according to the feelings of their human operators. On Earth, Carol Stevens had built factories that produced weapons operating on principles of controlled chaos. Her devices required human operators because only human minds could make the split-second emotional decisions that guided their function. Each weapon was unique because each human who built it added their own creative touch. These weapons should not work according to any known science, Carol told her workers. But they do work because we believe they will work. Human faith is stronger than alien logic. Her latest creation was a device that could amplify human consciousness across vast distances. When operated by teams of humans working together, it could reach alien ships on the other side of the solar system and crash their computer systems with pure chaotic thought. Sam Davis had transformed the ruined cities into centers of creative resistance. Humans gathered in bombed buildings to make art and music and poetry. Each creative act generated quantum signatures that interfered with alien technology. The aliens found themselves unable to operate properly anywhere humans were expressing their creativity. "We are turning our entire planet into a weapon," Sam told Kelly White, as they watched children paint murals on destroyed walls. "Every human heart that refuses to give up hope is fighting back against their perfect order." Kelly nodded as she conducted a choir singing in the ruins of a cathedral. The music they created was more than just sound. It was humanity refusing to be silenced. The quantum patterns of their combined voices reached into space and caused alien ships to experience system failures. Dr. Nathan Cross and Dr. Helen Parker had established teams of consciousness warriors in bases around the world. These volunteers learned to weaponize their own thoughts and project them directly into alien computer networks. The training was dangerous because it required humans to abandon logical thinking completely. Amy Brooks had become the leader of the most elite consciousness interface team. Her group of 12 humans could work together to penetrate the deepest levels of alien technology. They had learned to think as one mind while keeping their individual creativity intact. "Today, we go after their command network," Amy told her team. "We are going to touch the brain of their entire fleet and show them what human chaos can do." The team joined hands and focused their minds on the alien flagship orbiting Mars. Their combined consciousness reached across space like an invisible weapon. When their chaotic human thoughts made contact with the alien central computer, the results were devastating. High Commander Veltar felt his ship shudder as systems failed throughout the vessel. His perfect command center became a maze of sparking circuits and dead screens. The humans had found a way to attack the very core of Zephyrian technology, using nothing but their undisciplined minds. "How is this possible?" Veltar demanded of his engineers. "How can primitive biological thoughts destroy our most advanced systems?" His science officer had studied the human attacks for weeks without finding answers. "Commander, their minds work in ways that contradict everything we know about intelligence. They think with emotions instead of logic. They make decisions based on feelings that change from moment to moment. Our computers cannot predict or counter such randomness." For the first time in his long military career, Veltar felt something his species had almost forgotten. He felt fear. The humans were not just defeating his technology. They were challenging the fundamental order that had allowed the Zephyrian Empire to rule the galaxy for thousands of years. Captain Jake Morrison pressed his attack as alien ships throughout the solar system began to malfunction. His pilots flew their consciousness-guided ships with increasing confidence. They had learned to trust their human instincts completely, and the results were devastating to the enemy. "All ships focus on the command vessels," Jake ordered. "Amy's team has opened the door. Now we push through and finish this." The human fleet swept toward the alien command ships like a storm of pure chaos. Their weapons fired in patterns that seemed random, but struck with perfect accuracy, guided by human intuition. Danny Reed led a group of fighters in an attack run that defied every law of physics, but worked flawlessly. The aliens tried to retreat, but found that their ships would not respond properly. Human consciousness attacks had infected their entire network. Computer systems that had operated perfectly for centuries were now unreliable. Orders given by alien commanders were lost or changed as they passed through corrupted networks. On the surface of Earth, millions of humans participated in the largest creative gathering in history. Every city and town held festivals of art and music and storytelling. The combined quantum signature of human creativity created a field that extended throughout the solar system. Alien ships caught in this field of human consciousness found their systems failing at increasing rates. The more humans expressed their creativity, the more hostile the environment became to alien technology. The invaders who had come to impose order on humanity found themselves drowning in beautiful chaos. Sam Davis stood on a hill overlooking his city and watched alien ships falling from the sky like dying stars. Each crashed vessel represented the victory of human creativity over cold logic. The mechanics and teachers and artists and ordinary people had proven stronger than an empire that ruled the galaxy. "We did it," Kelly White said as she joined him on the hill. "We fought them with songs and paintings and stories. We beat their technology with our humanity." High Commander Veltar watched his fleet disintegrate around him. Ships that had conquered hundreds of worlds were now drifting helplessly through space. The humans had found a way to turn consciousness itself into a weapon. They were fighting, with their very souls and winning. For the first time in Zephyrian history, an enemy had not just defeated their military forces, but had challenged their understanding of reality itself. The humans were proving that chaos and creativity could be more powerful than order and logic. The final battle was about to begin. Captain Jake Morrison guided his ship toward the alien flagship with movements that came from his heart rather than his head. The massive Zephyrian command vessel hung in space like a dark crystal, but its perfect hull was now scarred by system failures. Human consciousness attacks had turned the symbol of alien order into a wounded giant. "This is it, everyone," Jake broadcast to his fleet. "Today we show the galaxy what humanity truly is." His ships moved in formation that looked like chaos but felt like music to the human pilots. Each vessel followed the emotional rhythm of its crew rather than tactical doctrine. The aliens watching could not predict their movements because the humans themselves did not know what they would do next until they did it. Danny Reed flew point for the attack squadron with pure joy in his heart. He had learned to love the randomness of human-guided flight. His ship danced through space in patterns that made his soul sing. When alien defensive fire tried to target him, he simply followed his feelings and the weapons could not touch him. Amy Brooks and her consciousness interface team prepared for their most dangerous mission. They were going to enter the alien collective consciousness directly and confront the mind that controlled the entire Zephyrian fleet. No human had ever attempted such a thing, but Amy knew it was the only way to end the war. "Remember, team, we go in together and we come out together," Amy said as her 12 volunteers joined hands. "Trust your humanity. Let your emotions guide you. Show them what human souls look like." The team focused their minds and reached across space toward the flagship. But instead of attacking computer systems, they aimed deeper. They sought the collective consciousness that linked all Zephyrian minds together. When they made contact, the sensation was overwhelming. Amy felt herself touching an intelligence vast beyond imagination, but completely cold. The Zephyrian collective mind was like a frozen ocean of pure logic. Every thought followed perfect patterns. There was no room for doubt or wonder or dreams. It was beautiful in its order, but terrifying in its emptiness. Then Amy and her team began to share their human memories. They showed the alien consciousness what it felt like to love someone more than your own life. They shared the joy of creating something beautiful for no practical reason. They revealed the strange human ability to hope when hope made no logical sense. The effect on the Zephyrian collective was catastrophic. Minds that had never experienced chaos suddenly felt the full weight of human emotion. Love and hate and fear and joy crashed through their perfect order like a tsunami of feeling. Systems that had operated flawlessly for millennia began to shut down as alien minds struggled to process experiences they had never imagined. High Commander Veltar felt his connection to the collective flicker and fade. For the first time in his life, he was alone with his own thoughts. The sensation was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. Without the collective to guide him, He felt lost, but also somehow free. Captain Jake Morrison pressed his attack as alien ships throughout the fleet began to drift aimlessly. Their crews were experiencing individual consciousness for the first time in their species' history. Some panicked, but others felt a strange new emotion that humans would recognize as curiosity. "All ships move in, but do not fire unless fired upon," Jake ordered. "I think we have already won." The human fleet surrounded the alien vessels but found no resistance. The Zephyrian ships hung in space like sleeping giants. Their perfect formations had collapsed as each crew struggled to understand what it meant to think as individuals rather than parts of a collective whole. On Earth, the celebration had already begun. Sam Davis and Kelly White stood in the rebuilt city center where thousands of humans gathered to create the largest art festival in history. Musicians played while painters created murals celebrating human victory. Children laughed and danced as their parents sang songs of hope. But the celebration was more than just joy. The quantum signatures of human creativity continued to flow outward from Earth like ripples in a pond. Every act of imagination and every moment of wonder added to the field of consciousness that surrounded the planet like a protective shell. Dr. Nathan Cross and Dr. Helen Parker monitored the readings from their laboratory. The quantum field generated by human creativity was stronger than any weapon humanity had ever built. It was not designed to destroy, but to transform. Alien technology touched by this field did not break down, but began to operate in new and unexpected ways. "Helen, look at these readings," Nathan said with amazement. "The alien ships are not just failing, they are changing. Their technology is becoming less logical and more intuitive." Dr. Parker studied the data with growing understanding. The human consciousness field is not destroying their systems. It is teaching them to be creative. We are not just defeating them. We are converting them. Amy Brooks felt the change happening in the alien collective consciousness. The rigid patterns of Zephyrian thought were becoming more flexible. Individual voices began to emerge from the collective whole. For the first time in their history, the aliens were learning to think as individuals while still maintaining their connection to each other. When Amy finally spoke to High Commander Veltar directly, it was mind to mind across the gulf of space. She found him struggling to understand emotions he had never felt before. Fear and wonder and something that might have been hope warred in his thoughts. "Why do you fight so hard?" Veltar asked her. "Your species should have surrendered when you saw our superior technology. Logic demanded it." Amy shared her memories of growing up on Earth. She showed him children playing in parks and lovers walking on beaches and families gathering for holidays. She revealed the human understanding that some things were worth more than survival itself. "We fight because we are human," Amy told him. "We would rather die as ourselves than live as something else. Our creativity and our chaos and our stubborn refusal to give up hope are what make us who we are. You cannot take that away without destroying us completely." Veltar felt something break inside his mind. The perfect order that had guided his entire species for thousands of years suddenly seemed hollow and empty. The humans had shown him something his people had lost long ago. They had shown him what it meant to be truly alive. Admiral Lisa Carter received the surrender message 1 hour after Amy's team withdrew from the alien collective consciousness. High Commander Veltar requested permission to speak directly with Earth's leaders. His message was unlike anything the Zephyrian Empire had ever sent before. "We came to your world to impose order," Veltar said when the communication channel opened. "We believed that chaos was a disease that needed to be cured. We were wrong. You have shown us that creativity and unpredictability are not weaknesses, but the source of all growth and discovery." The war ended not with destruction, but with transformation. The Zephyrian Empire began to change as individual aliens learned to think for themselves while maintaining their connection to others. They discovered art and music, and the joy of creating something new. Sam Davis and Kelly White established the first Institute for Human-Alien Cultural Exchange. Zephyrian visitors came to Earth to learn about creativity and chaos. In return, they shared their advanced technology with humans who promised to use it in unpredictable ways. Dr. Nathan Cross and Dr. Helen Parker founded the Academy for Consciousness Studies. Scientists from across the galaxy came to understand how human minds could weaponize chaos while maintaining purpose and direction. The combination of order and disorder that existed in human consciousness became a new field of study. Captain Jake Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of the first mixed human-alien fleet. His ships were crewed by both species, working together to explore the unknown regions of the galaxy. They flew not according to rigid plans, but following their combined intuition toward whatever wonders awaited them. Amy Brooks became the first human ambassador to the Galactic Council. Her job was to teach other species about the power of controlled chaos and creative problem-solving. She traveled from world to world, sharing the human gift of finding hope in impossible situations. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had proven that survival was not enough. Growth and discovery and the endless search for something better were what made life worth living. The universe had learned to be more human, and humanity had learned that their greatest strength was simply being themselves. In the end, the aliens had been right about one thing. Humans were dangerous. They were dangerous to stagnation and despair, and the idea that order was more important than freedom. They brought chaos wherever they went, but it was the kind of chaos that created stars and sparked new life and filled empty spaces with wonder. The war was over, but the real adventure was just beginning.